Are you an actor who feels like nothing's happening or not much is happening? If so, I have three mindset shifts that are literally going to change everything. Because it's not about doing the right things and then waiting for someone to find you. Instead, there is a much easier way to get what you want. We're going to talk about the ABCs of a thriving actor's career. They are an achiever's mindset, business savvy, and craft mastery. If you crack the code on these three, then you are going to be good to go. But before we get into it, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button because it really does help to get the word out there to other actors who would also like to become empowered. The first big shift is to stop waiting for that magical, perfect role to come along for you. That's an absolute dead end because actors who consistently work, they're not lucky. They are intentional. Think about it. There are two actors in a room. They both want a thriving acting career. What separates the two? It isn't their dreams. It is how they go about treating their career. One of those actors is going to workshops consistently, going to classes, hanging out with other actors, Netflix for research, yoga, journaling, meditating, all of that stuff that's necessary, but is not going to get you any kind of an opportunity to audition. Unless you are taking workshops with casting directors or with filmmakers, then you might get a chance. The other actor is very intentionally going about the business of being an actor. And that is a whole nother story. They are creating opportunities for themselves on a different level. They are becoming very intentional about knowing what it is that they bring to the table, and then they know how to pitch it to agents, casting directors, and other filmmakers so that they get the opportunities that are right for them. So, one of the first real big mindset shifts that you have to come to is understanding that the words you speak to yourself have major power. So, a lot of actors that I know are walking around saying things like, well, there just aren't enough roles for women in my age bracket or women who look like me. Fill in the blank. Because actors are saying there aren't enough roles for my type all the time, even the really gorgeous ones. So, you think that the film industry only wants gorgeous people. But let me tell you, I coach all sorts of actors, and even the really gorgeous ones are coming to me and saying, look, I've literally been told I am too pretty. So go figure, right? So it's honestly just a mindset switch. There's a great quote by Henry Ford: whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And I love this because what it boils down to is no matter what you believe, you begin to look for the evidence to support that, consciously or subconsciously. Another one of the things that I hear actors say all the time is, yeah, well, the casting directors, they always call in the same people. And there may be some truth to that, but it is not a blanket truth. So there's always room for new people in just about any production. Always. Casting directors want to be the one responsible for saying, I discovered so and so. So they are always on the lookout for fresh new talent. So that's one. Get those words out of your head and start replacing those words with words that actually serve you. Like, there are enough roles for my type. I just need to find the opportunities. So how do you find these opportunities? Well, you go out there and create relationships because people like to work with people they like, and people like to work with people they trust. And so you must create both of those situations. I don't know about you, but I was on debate team when I was in high school. And sometimes I had to argue for something I didn't believe in. But the thing is, when you put yourself in those shoes, you just do the job, right? So this is my challenge to you. Pretend you are on debate team for the opposing opinion, that there are enough opportunities out there, that there are enough roles for people like you, that the casting directors don't always cast the same people. And I promise you, you will start to see evidence of that everywhere. So then once you've started to change this mindset, or at least act as if you have changed your mindset, then it's time to start getting on people's radars. It's time to really be intentional about how you're reaching out to casting directors, agents, and other filmmakers, frankly, because agents and casting directors are just two doors that open for you for opportunities, but they are not the decision makers. So naturally, you'd be even better off by creating relationships with people who are actually in a position to cast you. And don't expect these things to happen overnight. Of course, this takes time, but you will start to see momentum. As my dad used to say, if you chop wood, chips fly. And once you start to get in the habit of, first of all, blocking these negative thoughts and reinforcing the positive thoughts and putting yourself out there, you will be well on your way to having a bulletproof achiever's mindset. Number two, understand that you are in the business of being an actor. I know. When we were in acting school, everybody taught us everything that we needed to know about acting, but they didn't mention a word about what it meant to be in the business of being an actor. So you've got to think of your career like a bird with two wings. One wing is your talent, your skills, your essence, your vibe, all of those kind of intangible things that make up you as an actor. But the other side is your understanding of how to get your foot in the doors that matter. And that includes understanding your brand, your marketing, your networking, your community, and of course, having a great mindset. So, unless both of these wings are strong, your poor little bird's never going to get up off the ground and soar. Because you can be the most talented actor in the world, but if nobody knows you're alive, it doesn't matter. And here's the thing, and this is the one skill that nobody talks about enough, but makes all the difference in your acting career. And that is knowing how to pitch yourself. Because frankly, everything we do as an actor is a pitch. When you're submitting to agents, when you're updating a casting director, when you're submitting to casting notices. And there is an art to doing it in a way that doesn't feel intrusive or doesn't feel transactional, that doesn't feel like a pitch. Now, of course, there are times when a hard pitch is totally necessary and expected, like when you are submitting to an agent. Obviously, you need to tell them what about you is special and why you would be a good fit in their agency and why you'd like to have a conversation. So even if you're like, yeah, well, I have an agent or I have a manager, or I've got both, and they do the pitching for me, that may be the case. I would caution you to rely 100% on your agent or your manager because, first of all, it's not their career, it's yours. Second of all, you have got one horse in the race. They have many horses in the race. They are hedging their bets by having other actors. So if you don't come through, if you stumble and don't make it to the finish line, well, they've got 49 other actors that just might. They are definitely hedging their bets, which is why you need to be hedging your bets too by being as proactive as you can about your own career. So even if your agent and the manager are pitching for you, you still need to know that they're pitching you in the correct way. I can't tell you how many actors I coach who come to me saying, my agent is submitting me for the wrong types of roles. I don't feel aligned with the type of roles that they're submitting me for. If you don't create a solid pitch for yourself, who you are, what you bring to the table, what makes you special, what makes you stand out, what people can expect from you, then the industry is just going to have their own opinions. So you can either have a hand in forming those opinions, or you can just sit back and let them have those opinions about you. So mastering the art of pitching is actually going to be one of the most powerful things that you can do as an actor. And the best part is, look, it's a skill. It's a skill just like any other. You don't have to be talented to pitch yourself. You just have to be skilled at it. And just like any other skill, including marketing and networking, you can learn how to do it. And you can learn how to do it in a way that is authentic to you and that feels good to you. But of course, before you can start crafting really persuasive pitches, you need to understand what it is that you're pitching. And that is your branding. Just for a second, as a thought exercise, think of two different motorcycles. Harley Davidson, Honda. What are the two of these bikes conjuring up for you? So for me, Harley Davidson represents a rebel, freedom, going against the establishment, affluence. On the other side, there's Honda. When I look at one of those Honda bikes and they go about 200 miles an hour, to me, they look like Hornets. And it's always some guy who I'm hoping has made himself an organ donor on his driver's license so that when his short life comes to an end, that somebody is going to get the benefit of it. And I say that only half jokingly because I truly fear for the lives of these kids who are flying down the highways on their Hondas. But it's a totally different demographic. Think about it, right? The same thing, motorcycles. So you've got to remember that you are the product and you have to know what your promise is. What do you bring to the table? What are your unicorn factors? These are the things that make you uniquely you. And we all have them. It's our energetic signature. It is that thing that is unmistakably you. It is one of the hardest things you'll do is trying to figure out exactly what makes you stand out from everybody else, because you also have to be able to articulate it so that you can make other people understand how you stand. So take my client Heike, for example. She was a theater actress. She came to me. She had been a theater actress and director for over 20 years and was trying to transition into film and television. And she had been trying to do this for about 3+ years. She had an agent, but in that time, she had only been cast in 2 shows. So when she signed on with me, she hadn't even finished my entire course, but she had finished the branding stuff. And I really encouraged her to start sending her stuff out again. And within a 2-week time period, she got cast in 3 separate TV shows. So it really goes to show you when you are laser focused about what it is that makes you stand out, other people all of a sudden can see it too. Confused minds don't cast, they just move on. So when you create a compelling pitch, you start magnetizing the right people to you and filtering out the wrong people. And I know that sounds scary because so many actors want to be all things to all people. But the truth is, if you're trying to be everything to everybody, you are nothing to no one. And look at it in terms of how you act, right? When you make a broad general choice, it's boring. It doesn't land. It has no emotional resonance. When you make a very specific choice, it doesn't matter that the audience doesn't know what your choice was. What they're seeing is the specificity of it. And that's why it connects. And the same thing goes for you and your pitch and your brand. So here's the good news. You are perfect just the way you are. You're not too old, you're not too young, you're not too fat, you're not too thin. You are perfect the way you are. And there is room in the film industry for you just as you are. So lean into who you are so that people can actually see it. And don't try to be a people pleaser, because the more you lean into who you are, the more you're going to be attracting the people into your network that are going to resonate with that. Here's the other little magic thing about understanding your brand. When you understand your brand, you also understand what lights you up. You also understand the kinds of roles you want to play and the kind of genres and productions that you want to be in. When you understand that and you start having conversations with people who do those kinds of things, you are naturally going to be much more animated and lit up about it. And they're going to feel that energy. So lean into the things that make you specifically wonderful, your unicorn factors, and lean into the things that light you up. Okay, moving on to number 3. You must see yourself as an asset worth investing in. You are the product. I hope I made that clear before, but if I didn't, I'm going to say it again. You are the product. So you must invest in having the best product possible on the market. And that means your time, your energy, and yes, folks, your money. You must invest in yourself. Now, if you're taking acting classes, even if you're done with acting school and you're just doing workshops once in a while, that's great. But you also need to be working on the career side of being an actor. You need to be investing in understanding, at the very least, what that means to be working on the career side, on the business of being an actor. If you are waiting to invest in yourself until some fantastic role comes along and prove that you deserve to be in this industry, you're going about it backwards. And here's the thing, when you make that commitment to yourself to start learning, to start, putting in the time and the energy, all of a sudden that momentum begets momentum. So you start doing forward movement and that creates forward movement. Don't want to get too woo woo on you here, but I do believe that there is energy in this universe and that there is attractive energy, there is repulsive energy. And when you start saying to the universe, I am here, I am ready, I declare this, I want this. When you take a stand and invest in yourself, what I see with my clients again and again and again is as soon as they make the decision to invest in themselves, all of a sudden they start getting all this work. Socrates said, true knowledge is knowing you know nothing. And I think it's really important to keep going through life with kind of this beginner's mindset. And one of the biggest skills that we can develop as actors is recognizing the limits of our knowledge and also when we need some extra help. And here's the thing, I get it. All of those workshops, coaches, classes, headshots, show reels, equipment, that's all expensive. I get it. But what is it costing you not to invest in yourself? How long have you been trying to get your acting career off the ground? Because if it's more than 2 or 3 years and you're not much further ahead than you were before, where are you going to be next year if you don't make some changes? We have to be radically honest with ourselves and hold ourselves radically accountable to where we are in our careers and the things that we need to do in order to get where we want to go. When you start to think of yourself as someone who's worthy of investing in, other people begin to see you that way too. And it's just the opposite as well. When you don't see yourself as worthy of investing in, then why should the industry invest in you? So I have a real serious question for you. Maybe tell me in the comments below. What is the one thing that you could do for your career right now that would make a difference? Okay. So what are the 3 things that you can do today? You can stop waiting and start creating your own opportunities. That means putting yourself out there and developing the relationships with people who actually have the power to move the needle on your career. You can work on your business savvy. And lastly, you can see yourself as an asset worth investing. Your career is not going to happen for you. You have to make it happen. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today. Until next time, you stay your bold and beautiful self. Bye-bye.